Hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. Now for this tutorial I'm doing the painting portion for this vehicle design. In the previous video you saw me actually doing the line work, working with 3D to come up with essentially the composition that I was going to do. In this stage I'm actually going to be painting it in. So since I know that I want to design this as a rescue vehicle, I chose the base color first. There's a couple of reasons why I did this. The main one is that once it's fully painted, I'm able to turn it into a grayscale and use that, once I use a mask, to actually add the white portions. So that I already have the shading done, and I'm just fine-tuning that shading with a mask instead. It saves a lot of time, and it's something that just makes it a bit more efficient. What I also did is I also used a mask around the ship to help isolate the ship design. Generally, when you're doing a concept, you want to be able to isolate the item that you're actually painting. The main reason for that is you don't want anything distracting around the image, so you remove all that just to focus just on the actual artwork. So as you can see, I'm just adding like the shadows and switching between these, and I'm just sampling the colors that I already have in the image, because I already have enough of a color range just to be able to do that, so it doesn't take too long. This painting portion took about I'd say 3 hours to complete. So the most tedious portion and most time-consuming portion was actually drawing out the vehicle design initially. Once that was done, then the painting portion is not that difficult to do, mainly because I already have the structure in place and I'm not figuring things out as I'm going. Now what I am doing though as I'm painting this is I am trying to emphasize different shapes and show their volumes a bit more, and I'm doing that just with the colors. So by sampling the colors that I already have in place, I'm able to really showcase the different planes that exist in this concept. So just working on some of the shadows in the darker areas. You will see me actually adding textures to this vehicle afterwards. And the way I'm doing that is I'm using a textured brush. So I will go over that momentarily. But the most important part at this stage is just making sure that the overall ship design has a proper shading in place before I start working on anything else. Now, technically I could have done all this in grayscale to begin with. The only problem that I find is when you start using a color layer to add your color, the colors seem oversaturated, whereas with this it seems a bit more organic in nature. So this is the reason why I'm actually trying to avoid using the color layer at all. It just produces better results, I find, in the long run. Now that being said, I would use the color layer if I needed to add like additional details like insignias and all that. Now since this ship is pretty heavily detailed to begin with, it's not really a necessity to add any of those. This is probably a design that I wouldn't give to an animator just because it's so complex. Well, the animator would actually just refuse probably to animate this. This is more closer to an actual game design than anything else. So as you can see, I actually duplicated that layer once I had the initial shading, and I changed it to a grayscale. So that when I go in, I can mask out the areas that I want in white. So I already have the shading in place and it saves me a lot of time. So I do the rough portion first just to get an idea of which areas I'm going to make white and which ones I'm going to keep the core color. Once again, that just speeds everything, the entire process up, and I can easily go back afterwards and do any changes that I need to. So I just changed the color a little bit. It was looking a little bit too red, and I didn't like that necessarily. So I just did that. Now I'm just fine-tuning all these lines, just making sure that I am within the lines when I colored it in. So this is just fine-tuning what I already have before I actually move on to the texture portions essentially of this image, because I will be adding texture work using brushes. So I'm not actually using somebody else's photos or anything like that. I will actually be using brushes to simulate and to paint in the textures that I want. It's a good practice to understand how to do that. And you know what? It doesn't take that much more time than using something that's already made. I actually found I had more control doing it this way than I did using pre-made textures from photo reference. And as you can see, it actually produces some really nice results, and I'm just using the texture brush to paint in the areas that I want to add that texture, and I'm also erasing out any areas that I don't need. So a lot of it is painted in, and this portion doesn't take too long at all. I think it took about half an hour to add these detail elements. So it's essentially the last step in the entire process, but it does help add quite a bit of realism to the image. It makes it more functional, because a ship like this is designed to go through really difficult weather conditions. So it would be banged up, and it would have material lodged within all its cracks. So this really does add that level of realism that I was hoping to get for this design. So depending on time constraints, I am actually debating whether or not I will do a full rotation of this. We'll see. The most difficult portion would be actually doing the side view for this vehicle design, but once the side view is done, then it's totally feasible for me to do the front and the back view as well. So we'll see about that. So this is the original line work, and moving into the line work, you'll see essentially how I took this line work and made it into a more rounded image that looked like it was more 3D. So this is the final version, as you can see. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. So thank you and take care.